Texas A&M landed a five-star recruit over the weekend, and they're about to get another one, I think. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Aggies.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I am your host, Matt Galatzan, publisher of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every day. Joining me is Zach Dimmitt, one of my hardworking colleagues over there at Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Zach, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. We're being pretty busy lately with all this A&M news, so lots to talk about today.
Yeah, and Texas A&M, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but they got another five-star recruit over the weekend. Big time signing of Bryce Perry-Wright. They also got four-star linebacker Tank King. But there is another five-star recruit announcing this coming weekend, and it seems that the Aggies have a pretty good shot at landing him. We are, of course, talking about five-star athlete out of University Lab in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lamar Brown. He is, according to 24/7 Sports composite ranking, the number 5 player in the nation, the number 1 defensive lineman, the number 1 player in Louisiana. He can go both ways, though. He plays offensive line and defensive line. He has indicated that he would like to play on the defensive side of the ball first, which obviously is a big deal for the A&M Aggies, who are cleaning up on the defensive side of the ball in this recruiting cycle thus far. He is announcing, like I said, on July 10th, and he is choosing between Texas A&M, Texas, LSU, and I believe Miami. Is that correct, Zach?
Mm-hmm,
yeah. It seems like the Aggies have a pretty good shot. Tell us what you know about Lamar Brown, Zach.
Yeah, so A&M, it seems like they're in every one of these races. I mean, you can't get every single player, obviously, but if you're like competitive in a lot of these races, you're doing something right. And when it comes to Lamar Brown, A&M, LSU, Texas, like we mentioned, according to On3, Texas might be out of the mix a little bit on that, and it's down to A&M and LSU reportedly 50-50 between those two is what On3 is reporting. So, a potential another win for A&M over Texas on the recruiting trail. It's been pretty dominant for A&M over the past couple of weeks. And it's not that Texas has had a bad summer recruiting at all. It's just A&M has had that much better of a summer while beating their rivals in a lot of these races. So that'd be huge for A&M if they could get Lamar Brown, not just because of his talent, but because you're beating out other SEC teams that also could potentially have gotten him. And we even saw him tease, I believe it was yesterday, that he maybe wants to team up with Bryce Perry-Wright and Tristan Givens and those guys, some of the recent commits. So maybe he was just joking around. We see some of these recruits say, hook him, gig him with a question mark after it. Some of them are just messing around, but it seemed like there was a little bit more to it with Lamar Brown's tweet saying that he wants to team up with those guys. So we'll see how it goes. But man, if Lamar Brown is added to this A&M class, I mean, what more can you really say? Now it's just about turning that talent into production and wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, as we've said before on a couple shows here, A&M is certainly on the path to getting the number 1 class in the country right now. They're as hot as anybody in the nation when it comes to recruiting. And here's what, as you mentioned, so Texas A&M and LSU are kind of seen as the 2 favorites in this race. Texas seems like they're lacking a little bit behind. Miami's in there. But right now, if A&M can pull the number 5 defensive lineman in the country, or the number 5 player in the country, the number 1 defensive lineman, the number 1 athlete, number 1 player in the state of Louisiana out of Louisiana, that would be a major, major win for Mike Elko. He did an interview recently with Rivals and On3, and this is what Lamar Brown had to say about Texas A&M. He said, "Great culture, great place. I love it. Coach Mike Elko, what he's building there in his first year, he did a great job. the class they're building there. I feel that defensive line would be a great defensive line in the SEC for the coming years. Coach Spence and Coach Tony, Jared Eddy, I respect. They've been on me. They're the two guys I feel that want me the most. Just two great coaches, just a great school, in my opinion. That is a glowing, glowing review of the Aggies right there. He had some good things to say about LSU as well. He says, just the place, the hometown. If I pick them, I can rep my state and my city. Coach Brian Kelly is a great coach. The way they want to use me is a way I feel myself the best, playing inside out with Coach Kevin Peoples. Have a great relationship with Coach Kyle Williams and the defensive coordinator too, Coach Blake Baker. I have a great relationship with most of the coaches on staff. It's just the relationship I've built with them in the last year. So if you kind of dissect those statements a little bit, obviously he likes both teams, right? But it seems like he has a lot more, at least that he's talking about, that he likes about A&M, as opposed to just, it's with LSU, it's the relationships with A&M. There's a whole list of things there, the recruits they're bringing in, the way they want to use them, and the relationships and all those different things. So that would honestly absolutely be a huge, huge win for Texas A&M there. And if you read his scouting report over on 24/7 Sports, it's a pretty glowing review as well. Gabe Brooks, the 24/7 Sports scouting analyst, has compared him to Mike Pouncey of the Los Angeles Chargers along the defensive line, who's one of the meanest on the offensive line, one of the meanest offensive linemen that has come through college in the NFL in quite a long time. He calls him a legitimate high-level two-way prospect as an interior offensive lineman or as a potentially role reversal frontline defender. Projected for many months to the interior of the offensive line as a physical, athletic defensive maker who could potentially provide across the front line versatility in college. He has the desire to play defense. And on the defensive side, he's got a stout athletic build that fosters sudden athleticism and explosive movements. He's an enforcer on tape, flashes close quarters power and impressive short area agility, and shows a sense for urgency and searches for extra work. Turbocharged as a puller and a climber, sinks his hips and complements punch power with significant lower half juice. I mean, and it goes on and on. This guy, A&M has already landed multiple 5-stars in this class. They're ranked number 3 in the country, as we'll talk about a little bit more across the recruiting services, which is huge. But this would be the gem of the recruiting class, and it would be a big win for them, Zach.
Yeah, just one more note on Lamar Brown. We talk about the offensive and defensive line. I think that he would have, and as he's mentioned, he wants to play, defense preferably, most likely, but I think he'd have more of an impact on defense, quite frankly. I mean, the offensive line is more of a group success sort of story. Of course, you're going to have your individuals that shine on their one-on-one assignments, but I think with defense, if he can be added to the defensive line and just be told to just go wreak havoc on the opposing quarterback if he chooses A&M, that'll have much more of an impact down the line. So I think if he does choose the Aggies, they should really emphasize the defensive line. And then with LSU, the hometown relationship there, I don't know, this is just me personally, but I kind of wanted to get out of my hometown once I was, ready to get out of the house. Maybe he wants to, not be too far from home by going to College Station, still be a little bit close to Baton Rouge, but, maybe he doesn't want to live with mom and dad. So I don't know the inside story on that, but I'm just guessing maybe that's why he's had such strong words about A&M, but can't deny that hometown connection with LSU either. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't really get to live your full college experience unless you get out of your hometown. So that's something to consider there as well. But as we mentioned before, this isn't the only recruiting news for Texas A&M. There's been a lot going on. We're going to get into that next year on Locked On Aggies. We're going to take a quick break right here, so stick with us. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with your friends or your family? Maybe it's a game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without stress. With the money you can save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app usually drop the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game, just like the Astros home series versus the Cleveland Guardians this week. So if you want to go check that one out, check out Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONAGGIE or LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, we're back from our break, and we're going to get into a little bit more Texas A&M recruiting news here. We just talked about Lamar Brown, big time possibility for the Aggies this weekend. But last weekend, the Aggies land 5-star defensive lineman Bryce Perry-Wright. They had 4-star linebacker Tank King. Two very, very big commitments that shot that class up from number 4 to number 3 in the country, number 2 in the SEC. When they got up to the number 3 spot. I mean, this is the highest that I can remember them being since all the way back in the 2022 class. You know, they're behind Georgia, and I believe they're behind USC right now for the top 2 spots, but they are gaining steam. Yep. There's a lot more coming up this weekend and through the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about Bryce Perry-Wright first. Obviously, is the 5-star commitment. That was the big news over the weekend. He is, I believe, and I'm checking this right now, he is the third 5-star to commit to the A&M Aggies so far in this class. They got edge Tristan Givens, who is the highest ranked player they've gotten committed so far. They also got Brandon Arrington, the safety out of Mount Miguel, Spring Valley, California. Huge one there. And then Perry-Wright over the weekend on July 5th. Zach, what do you know about Bryce Perry-Wright, and what is he going to bring to this class?
Well, I think he's going to bring some, obviously some physicality and talent, but I think he's got some nice competitiveness to him also. Because whenever he committed, he's saying, D-line university, that's where I'm headed. Calling A&M, D-line university. It's kind of a hot take potentially. Aggies definitely had some success this past season in the draft on the D-line. With the 3 guys being selected, but it was kind of a potential shot at Clemson. I know some Clemson fans were upset about him choosing A&M because Clemson actually could potentially be the next D-line university. They got a bunch of first-round picks potentially on that defensive line. So I think the talent is already there, but I think when it seems like he's bought into the program, sometimes you get the sense that maybe guys, they commit, but they may flip down the line. But just the way that he talked whenever he committed, seems like he's, going to be bought into the program while also bringing, his 5-star talent as well. So you always get afraid of these commits maybe flipping down the road. You don't get the sense with Bryce Perry-Wright, though. I think Aggie should be safe there.
Yeah, and this has been the hottest the Aggies have been on the defensive line since 2022 for sure. That year they got Walter Nolan, they got LT Overton, multiple 5-stars along that defensive front. A lot of those guys aren't there anymore. This feels different, though. This feels like a class that has been built by Mike Elko that has the potential to stick around for a long time. So absolutely a huge win. You want to get back at the forefront of the recruiting in the SEC. That's exactly what they've done so far. And they did the same thing by landing Tank King, who's a linebacker out of Memorial in Port Arthur, Texas. He's the number 29 ranked linebacker in the country, the number 56 player in Texas, according to 24/7 Sports. He's described as an adequately sized, natural run and hit linebacker who displays suddenness when redirecting and quick uncoiling power when striking a target. Volume tackler with high production in that category across sophomore and junior seasons. Plays with above average instincts that foster beat you to the spot diagnosis versus the run. Another great scouting report from Gabe Brooks over there at 24/7. And here's some of those numbers that he put up for Memorial in the last couple of years. As a junior, he had 141 tackles, 23 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. That was all in 12 games. And he helped lead Memorial to the second round of the playoffs in Texas 5A. And then in 2023, he had 138 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, and a forced fumble, and another playoff appearance there. So another big time guy there that Mike Elko's bringing into this defense, which has just been he's been on a heater so far. So that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I think with how much talent has been added to this class, guys like Tank King are going to get a little bit overlooked potentially, just because you look at the ratings, and sometimes ratings can be a little bit overvalued. So I think he may fly under the radar a little bit, but you never know. Once he gets to College Station, a few years on the line, maybe he surprises a lot of people. But on that same note, land the commitment there, and then the Aggies just keep rolling. You got 4-star wide receiver Jace Matthews. He told On3 Steve Wiltfong that A&M surpassed his expectations on his official visit in June. So we'll see what happens there. But when you get that kind of statement from a recruit, that definitely resonates. And then you also got 4-star safety Tamarion Watkins. He told Rivals that he is down to South Carolina and Texas A&M. So interesting finalists right there. South Carolina A&M. South Carolina is on the rise for sure in the SEC. We're not surprised to see A&M in any of these races anymore, but we'll see what happens there. He told Rivals that now that I've got a great time at all these places, I've narrowed it down. I'm focused on 2. So A&M and South Carolina there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think and with Jason Matthews, forgot to mention the finalists are Ole Miss, A&M, Auburn, LSU. He said to Rivals that he's really close to making a decision. So potentially 2 more commits down the line. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you mentioned about Tank King too. The rating maybe isn't as high, and it's not something that rankings don't mean everything. A lot of these guys move up and down, and different guys get different ratings for different reasons, or they vault up the board super fast, whatever the case may be. If Aggie fans remember, there is a linebacker that's on the roster now that's a pretty good player. I feel like he was the number 77 linebacker in the country, the number 167 player in Texas, and he was only a 3-star recruit. His name's Torian York. He's one of the best linebackers in the SEC, and he's the best player on your defense probably. So, these guys can really come out of nowhere and make a name for themselves. Tank King seems to be a guy that is a candidate to do something like that. You mentioned Jace Matthews. You mentioned Watkins. Also, 5-star safety Braylon Womack. He's taken trips to Auburn, Florida, and Ohio State, as well as Texas A&M. A&M is firmly in the race for him. They've been in the race early on. He told Steve Wiltfong, I've been up there so many times. The official visit was nice. The food was crazy. It was insane. The people around the facilities are amazing to you. You walk by any coach, offense, defense, special teams, they're going to do the same or be the same person to you. A&M set a standard for us for a long time. Back in August of last year, when I went up for the Notre Dame game, they set a high standard for us and raised the bar every time we go back and visit. So, another super highly rated recruit that they're in the mix for. And that's not the only one either, Zach. 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys. A&M is one of the biggest threats to push to get him to flip from LSU. You mentioned Jace Matthews as well, another big time receiver they're in the mix for. He's the number 3 wide receiver in the country. 5-star edge Tank Jones dropped his top 3 over the weekend as well. It was Alabama, Texas A&M, and Oregon. A&M leads for Tamarion Watkins, like you said. They're also in the mix for 4-star safety Tylen Wilson, 4-star tight end Evan Jacobson, and also 4-star defensive lineman KJ Ford included Texas A&M as one of his finalists as well. A lot of these guys are making their decisions over the next few weeks. And if you look up by the time football season starts, Zach, there's a real possibility that A&M could have the number 1 class in the country.
Yeah, quite frankly, it's beginning to be too much to keep up with, but that's a good problem to have when you're the Aggies. When you have all these guys potentially choosing A&M, that's a good problem to have. So a few notes on Womack. I just think that if the Aggies can get this guy pair him with Brandon Arrington, the secondary down the line. That would be awesome for A&M. I mean, Andrew Evans, director of scouting, 24/7 Sports, compares him to Caleb Downs, who, obviously is one of the best players in college football. So, and Womack won Gatorade Player of the Year in Mississippi. So this guy's absolutely elite. You pair him with a guy like Brandon Arrington in the secondary, who is maybe going to be one of the fastest guys in college football once he arrives College Station. So that would just be insane for A&M. But yeah, Ohio State, it seems, is leading there. 24/7 Sports did a prediction or submitted a prediction for Womack, Brendan Womack, and it says Ohio State currently. We know how these things go. Things could change down the line. Even if someone commits, they could flip later. So we'll see. And then on Tristan Keys, just quick note there. Just imagine if Aggies can flip him. Maybe, we don't know. We'll see. Flip him. Also get Lamar Brown. Poach both of those guys from LSU. Potentially, that would just be absolutely massive from SEC perspective and just from a recruiting perspective. But long way to go on a lot of these things. But also not. A lot of these things are going to be decided here soon.
Yeah. And if we've learned one thing over the first, 15, 16 months of the Mike Elko era, he's going to get in there and he's going to fight for these recruits and he's going to make some noise. And he's done exactly that so far. But he's not just making noise on the recruiting trail, Zach. The Aggies are expected to be a pretty good football team next year. And we're going to talk next about some of the players that should make a big impact for them next season. Stick with us after this break, and we'll bring you some pretty exciting news over there from Pro Football Focus. All right, we're back. So, Zach, Texas A&M is not projected in the top 5, not projected in the top 10, but they probably should be, just given the sheer volume of talent that they have coming back, the names that they've added so far in the transfer portal. I expect big things out of Texas A&M next year. I think you expect big things out of Texas A&M next year. And part of that, like I said, is because of the returning talent that they have on this roster, whether it's at Marcel Reed at quarterback, the running backs, Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens, the entire offensive line, for the most part, coming back. On the defensive front, you got Cassius Howell coming back. You got Tyreek Chappell coming back. You got Torian York coming back. You got Des Ricks. All these guys are coming back. Albert Regis. The list goes on and on. Recently, Pro Football Focus released their top 50 players returning in college football next season. The Aggies had 2 names on that list, starting off with Armaj Reed Adams, the offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman. He comes in at number 16 on PFF's list. They say Reed Adams dominated his first year at the Aggies. The Kansas transfer ranked 2nd in PFF overall grade, PFF run blocking grade, and PFF WAA among power 4 guards. He's a powerful player at 6'5", 330 pounds, who can excel in any run blocking scheme. Reed Adams led all power 4 guards in gap PFF run blocking grade and ranked 4th in PFF run blocking grade this past season. Obviously massive that he's returning, considering the Aggies are getting healthy at running back again after losing Le'Veon Moss, after not having Ruben Owens for the vast majority of last season. And Amari Daniels is coming back as well. And we know that Marcel Reed likes to run the football too. So pretty big deal for Armaj Reed Adams to come back and be one of the top rated offensive players in all of college football next season.
Yeah, that's pretty glowing praise to have him at 16, especially when you're considering all the players. And it's not just SEC. This is all the players in FBS. So, pretty impressive there. I think, you mentioned Le'Veon Moss and those running backs. A&M has arguably, the best backfield in the SEC, maybe in the country. And so, let's say there's a worst case scenario that Le'Veon Moss gets re-injured, pray for the best that doesn't happen. But, as we saw last season, there's the potential of that happening. Let's say he gets injured, you have to rely on your backups. Though Ruben Owens, is still very serviceable. And if you lose Moss, you at least still have Armaj Reed Adams manning a really strong offensive line. So, there's no sort of fear there up front. Marcel Reed and Mike Elko, they should feel pretty comfortable knowing they got Amaz Reed Adams leading that offensive line. But now he's to live up to the expectations next season. A lot of eyes are going to be on A&M. So he's got to live up to that number 16 ranking. But I think, you feel really comfortable if you're Mike Elko that you have that guy up front. And to make it better, he's a team captain, one of the bigger voices on the team. So, but you got to live up to that number 16 ranking. So we'll see what happens next season.
Yeah. And, you go down to number 29 and you find Torian York, the Texas A&M linebacker who we mentioned a minute ago. He was just a 3-star recruit coming out. He was committed to Baylor at one point. Texas never really recruited him. He had some more low-level offers, but A&M was the one that really believed in him, and that's paid off. He comes in at number 29 for PFF in the top 50 players in college football. They say just a 3-star recruit. York hasn't let his recruiting profile dictate his college career. He has just been a starter in each. He has been a starter in each of his first 2 college seasons and leads all returning Power 4 linebackers with 59 run defense stops since 2023. His 122 plays with first contact on ball carriers are tied for 4th in the Power 4. York has a stocky build, 6 feet, 235 pounds, and he's an excellent tackler. He is the captain of this defense. He is the captain in the locker room. He is, for my money, the biggest leader on this team. The defense will go as he goes. He's an aggressive player. He's always in the right place. He's always, at the right time in that spot. And it's really critical for Texas A&M to bring a player of that caliber back to be the green dot on defense and call the shots and really lead your defense into a really tough SEC schedule.
Yeah, I think what makes it sweeter with Torian York is that, he's really bought into A&M. Humble beginnings, like we had mentioned previously, and now he's just continuously grinded it out with the program, and now it's really paid off. Like you don't see a transfer up here. I know Amaz Reed Adams transferred from Kansas; he's a little bit different, but you don't see like Casey Concepcion up here as a guy who hasn't even played a game in an A&M jersey yet. At number 29, you have a guy who's a born and bred Aggie, and so you feel really good about that you have someone like that leading your defense. But yeah, I think, like I mentioned, the expectations are going to be high on A&M. And I think, this list shows that there's no shortage of talent on the roster. And as bad as the end of last season was, if A&M had just beat Texas in that last game, they could be potentially they would have played for an SEC championship, potentially won that. So if few things go differently for A&M, they wouldn't have been in the Las Vegas Bowl and blown the lead to USC. I think that the end of the season kind of put a wrong impression about this past year's A&M team. I think they're right there. And, this list showing you got 2 guys in the top 30, both on opposite sides of the ball, both major leaders in the locker room. I think it just shows that A&M's right there when it comes to, making it to the college football playoff because they got the talent. So, but yeah, they're going to have to lean on York and Amaz Reed Adams for sure in the locker room next season, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and just some notes from this list. PFF has Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith as the number 1 overall player in college football. Not too surprising there. They have Caleb Downs, the safety at Ohio State, is the number 2 player in college football. Not a big surprise there either. Defensive lineman Peter Woods from Clemson comes in at number 3. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, number 4. Spencer Fano, Utah tackle, is number 5. Notre Dame cornerback Leonard Moore is number 6. Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik is the first quarterback on the list at number 7. Texas Longhorns edge Colin Simmons is number 8. South Carolina edge Dylan Stewart is number 9. And Clemson edge TJ Parker is there at number 10. A couple other notable names. Ryan Williams from Alabama comes in at number 12. Anthony Hill from Texas, one-time Aggie commit, is number 14. Ruben Bain out of Miami is number 15. Sam Leavitt is the second quarterback on the list at number 17 from Arizona State. Wide receiver Jordan Tyson from Arizona State is number 18. Another former Aggie, Eli Stowers, Vanderbilt tight end, number 19. And then Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier, the two quarterbacks out of Penn State and LSU respectively, come in at 23 and 22 and 23. And then Dylan Thienman out of Oregon, the safety, comes in at number 25. That kind of rounds out your top 25 there. So pretty big list to be a part of if you're a Texas A&M football player. There's a lot of good players on this list, a lot of guys that have bright NFL futures ahead of them, and Mars Reed Adams and Torian York are certainly among those names. But that's going to do it here for another episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen today. For your second listen, please check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings across college football. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal Show on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And there will be plenty more from Texas A&M, plenty more Texas A&M news in the coming days and on tomorrow's show. And who knows? I mean, there's always something exciting happening in Aggie land. Fortunately, we've got you covered right here on Locked On Aggies. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, give me a follow over on Texas A&M Aggies SI, where we cover everything from football, basketball, baseball, softball, whatever, anything Texas A&M sports. We've got you covered. And follow my man Zach over there on X at Zach Dimmitt 7, and we will see you next time.